Hi, this is Tara Omatosho from Inspired into Action. Today we have Kim Mitchell. She's going to be talking about her foundation, Walk the Walk. How are you doing today, Kim?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Excited to hear about your foundation and how it started. Could you talk to the listeners and tell them about who you are and what it is that you do in your foundation?
Sure. So my name is Kim Mitchell, and I started our foundation back in 2005. And it's a really incredible story. God has just been so good to us, and it clearly He laid a path for us to follow. When back in 1998, I was halfway through a pregnancy. It was in December, and I went to the doctors, and there was no heartbeat.
Mm,
So I had, lost that child,
mm,
and that was a really hard thing to go through. I had three other children at the time. Was really looking forward to having another little boy. So after a couple years, I started to want to buy for a child that would have been my son's age.
mm.
A lot of women do that when they have lost a child. Then at Christmas time, they're thinking about them, and so they want to buy a gift or buy Christmas for a child that would have been their child's age.
Right.
So that's not unusual. But so what happened is after a couple of years, I started to realize that I wanted to get more involved. And I thought I could do things a little bit differently, maybe make it a little bit more personal instead of just dropping off gifts at a place and never knowing what happened to them.
Right.
Um, so my husband and I took on 60 children our very first year, thinking that, well, we'll see how it goes. And if anything, if nobody wants to buy for these kids, at least we could probably go out and get, stuff for them. We were overwhelmed by the response. People just poured out and gave us so much.
That's awesome.
Every child had board games and hair dryers and towels and sheets and
Mm,
on and on, clothes and coats and hats and mittens. And then what was really interesting is after that was over, I would go to the grocery store and come back, and there would be bags of gently used clothes at my door.
mm.
And from January until May, bags of clothing kept getting dropped off at my house. And I just kept putting them in the garage to the point where they were stacked, 4 feet high, and we could not get into our garage. So we had friends come over and we sorted everything and boxed everything up and ended up taking it to West Virginia, where my extended family is from,
Mm.
and giving it away there. We were just blown away because it just kept happening. And we felt clearly that this was God's way of saying, hey, you're going to do this,
Right.
and it's not going to stop, and, pushing us in that direction. So we formed our 501c3,
Mm,
and excuse me, in August of 2005, we were waiting for our 501c3 status.
mm.
And then going into that school year, Katrina happened.
Oh, yeah.
And right as Katrina happened, we received a shipment of brand new clothes.
Mm,
And we were just waiting to find a place to, give them away. And then Katrina happened, and we got involved with our pediatrician's office, and we helped with all the logistics of doing a drive
wow.
at the Verta Park High School.
Hmm.
And that kind of just set us out there on stage. We ended up taking 6 tractor trailer loads down to Biloxi, Mississippi, and into New Orleans. And the way we got in was because of my husband's business connections, and the connections he had down there set up tents so that their employees and their neighbors and friends and all these, people that needed help and needed clothing and water and diapers and all those kind of things
Hmm.
get in. So that was like our big first thing to happen.
Wow, you got like thrust into the whole thing.
Yes.
It was a flood in your house and it just took root. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it was awesome. So then through the years, we've developed a couple of programs. We do our Christmas drive is like our signature program. last year we did over 1,300 children for
Wow,
Christmas.
that's great.
Yeah, and then we started with back to school, and we do school supplies, and then we're also part of a national diaper bank, and
Wow.
we're expanding that program as I speak. We have meetings coming up to expand that program to include some diaper pantries throughout the county.
Wow, that's great. So do you primarily work in Anne Arundel County or is it Maryland wide?
Primarily in Anne Arundel County, we still do go back down to West Virginia.
Mhm,
That's kind of where we started. My parents are from a small town called Bluefield,
mhm,
and my extended family is down there. My grandmother was one of those grandmothers that every time I saw her, she would give me an apple or a peach or a sandwich
mhm,
or a pack of nabs. And she always would say things like, "It's more blessed to give than receive,"
mhm. Yeah.
and really took root. So the one way I honor my parents is by giving to the families in their hometown.
Mhm.
And my parents have lived the American dream. There's nothing that I can buy them that they can't buy for themselves or buy 10 times over. So
Right.
me going back to their hometown and blessing the people there is really what I strive to do for
That's
them.
that's awesome. That's awesome how you took what would be a tragic situation in losing a child and turn it into blessing more people than you would have been able to bless with just the child that you had there. And that is really what when the Bible says He works things out for our good,
Yeah,
that situation was really work for your good and the good of other people too. And
right.
that's how we're supposed to live life. We're supposed to show other people the gospel through works, good works, and the love of the Lord. And that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I go back to Ephesians 2:8 through 10,
Hmm.
and it says that it's not by works that we are saved
Right.
with our faith, but that it's God's gift.
Right.
But then Ephesians 2:10 specifically narrows in and says that we are God's workmanship and
Hmm.
that we're created in Christ Jesus to do good works
Right.
that He prepared for us to do.
Right.
So when I look at the fact that in Psalms 139 it says that we are uniquely made and wonderfully and created,
Right.
uniquely made by God,
Hmm.
and then you look and say that He prepared good works for us to do, then you really know that there's a plan there.
Yeah.
And I also think that every soul, every person has a purpose,
Yeah.
um, and is designed by God. And though my son's purpose was not for his life was not for here
Hmm.
on earth, there was purpose there. And
Right.
so I think with every situation that we come across, good, bad, ugly,
Hmm.
uh, that we have a responsibility to make good come from it.
Yes.
And I think that you look at people who go through cancer or some horrific tragedy, and there's people who play the role, get caught up in the misery and the sadness, which I totally did. I'm not saying that I didn't,
Hmm.
but I also came through that on the other side. After, honestly, I yelled, screamed, and told God that He didn't know what He was doing. Um, you know, I found purpose in it, and it's grown into something that I just can't even imagine. I can't imagine not doing this, and I can't, and I'm blown away every year by how it all comes together. So, yeah.
That's just awesome. That's awesome. Kim, can you tell us a little bit more about the process of becoming a 501(c)(3)? Was that challenging for you? I know it was back in 2005, but could you tell the listeners a little bit about how that process went for you?
Yeah. So one of the first things that we had to do was fill out a lot of paperwork. That we actually got some help from we hired an attorney to help us with the paperwork and make that process happen a little bit easier. But we did sit down and we worked with someone who does business plans and strategies, and they ask the tough questions about, like, what's your mission, what's your purpose, what is your vision for this, um, they really, kept driving it home, and making concise words and things like that. And word choice is not my expertise.
Hmm.
So having someone there that they really challenged us and asking us, what was our intention,
Right,
basically.
right.
Once we got through all that paperwork, then it was just sitting back and waiting for the government to do their thing.
Hmm.
Um, and then you get your 501c3 status, and can then put yourself out there. It's not as daunting, but for me, I'm not like a business type person. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? I'm more about like developing programs, and so I defaulted to my husband a lot, who was a businessman. So
Okay, gotcha. So, but that's good. It's a partnership, and everybody can't do everything, and so it's good that your husband stepped alongside of you and helped you create this into reality. That's really awesome, and that's really helpful and beneficial. My husband steps aside alongside of me in the things that I do, and it's helpful because they're able to see things from a different perspective and also assist us in really communicating what our mission is, what our outcomes, what is our goal, what do we want to see come out from this whole situation, and you can only answer as far as you can see, but sometimes that outcomes are things that you can't see. Like you couldn't have saw that Katrina was going to happen and then all those supplies come in, but you knew that as soon as it happened what you needed to do with it, and I think that's the important piece.
right. One thing that I would encourage people to do if they were starting a 501c is to form a board
Mhm.
and have this board of people be of a different mix of people, different talents, different skills sets, so that they can grow the foundation together and they can use expertise from different areas of life.
Mhm.
And it's really important to have people on the board that challenge you.
Yes.
So it's not really asking your best friends to do this, even though you could have a best friend on the board. It's asking people who will hold you to a higher standard. It's people who are not just going to take what you say as word, they're going to question you.
Right.
They're going to make you stronger by doing all of that and actually make your work, um, more perfected, I want to say,
Right. Right.
and more efficient or more powerful.
Right.
So that's a really important piece, is to have like good people surrounding you that will give you that type of expertise.
Yeah, that's really good. My pastor always says if you're hanging around people and they all have you guys all have the same mindset, you need to get some new people to hang around with. People that
Exactly.
challenge you, to do better. Because when you have the same group thought, that can be detrimental to you growing and progressing. So that's really great. That's great advice. That's great advice. So in regards to sort of like group thought and things that you may look to as inspiration, is there anything else that maybe you look at to inspire you? Are there any books that you read that help you along in this path of helping people, helping others?
Well, actually, it's funny that I thought about this question, and I have to tell you, it really comes back to the Bible.
Yeah.
Um, there's times where I have felt defeated and that something is just not going to happen, or just overwhelmed by, we've had some really trying circumstances in our personal life. And then I read Isaiah 58,
Hmm.
and it says that, to stop pointing our fingers and stop complaining,
Right.
and get busy with feeding the poor
Hmm.
and taking care of the hungry and things like that, and then you will rise from that. And lately we've had a lot going on planning for our fundraiser, and you get really overwhelmed and you start thinking like, are people going to come, and is this going to come off, and are we going to raise money and things. And the verse that keeps coming to mind is from John, that just says, apart from me you can do nothing.
Hmm.
And so it's just really going back, my default is going back to, you know um, the Bible.
Yeah, and past victories. I mean,
Yeah.
if he can make people stop by your house to drop off clothes every month, surely he can bring the money. Let's talk about this event. Let's talk about what it is, where it is, if
Yeah.
you're accepting donations, all that great stuff, so people will know exactly what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. Actually, I am so excited about this event. I just want people to come. I mean, I just think it's going to be a fun night.
Yes.
So we're doing this event on May 11th, Thursday night. I know it's an off time, but that's a time when the Whitechapel Town Center is not busy. So we have to do it because we're bringing in more people.
And
Uh,
Wall Chapel Town Center is in Crofton, Maryland. Just to
yes.
let everyone know, because there's some people that may not live in the area, or they do, but they just don't know where Wall Chapel
Yeah.
Center is. So sorry to interject that.
Yeah. So it starts off, it's going to be like a 1 mile walk, which along the way, there's merchants who are going to be giving out treats, like Smoothie King is giving out samples and Chick-fil-A is giving out nuggets. There's other restaurants that's going to be handing out things like water bottles and just small bites.
Yeah.
You come back to this main area of the shopping center, and it's going to be a really big after party. There's a School of Rock band, which is like 10, 11-year-olds. They're going to be playing their music, which is like 80s music. It's a lot of fun to watch them belting out all the words. And then there's going to be obstacle course, moon bounce, and face painters and balloon artists. And one of the hair salons is doing hair dye. And
Oh, wow.
And then the restaurants there are going to be handing out free samples on our restaurant row. Bonefish is doing a beer garden. We have a DJ lined up for when the kids band is done playing. And last year we did this, and it was just absolutely so much fun. Everybody went away with just such a positive feel. And our goodie bags are amazing. Most of the vendors and restaurants and merchants are giving out coupons. Chick-fil-A is giving out free sandwiches. Mission Barbecue is giving out coupons. Wegmans is giving us reusable grocery bags as our goodie bag.
Wow, that's great.
So yeah, so there's all kinds of things in the bag for everybody that participates. And I think it's just going to be a really fun night.
Okay, great. So what is the cost to participate in the walk?
So
Like
to
if you want the
participate,
goodie bag and you want all the good
yeah.
stuff.
So to participate in the walk, it's $10.
Okay.
If you have children under the age of 4, they are free.
Okay.
We do have a couple different options. You can register and do a $50 fee, which will get you a T-shirt.
Mhm.
We're also going to have our trailer there that's going to be filled with school supplies.
Okay.
And if for a $100 donation, you get a T-shirt and you get to fill a backpack with school supplies that will go to a child in Anne Arundel County this next school year.
All right, that's great. That's great. So where do you pay for this? Is it on your website or?
It is. You can go to our website, which is www.wtwf.org/walk.
Okay. And that's great. So it's May 11th and it starts at 6, you said?
Yes, registration will open up at 5.
Oh, at
so
5.
if you don't have a chance to register before that night, you can walk up and register that night.
Okay, cool. Is there anything that people have to wear special, or it's just come as you are and walk the walk?
Yeah, and that's why we call it the walk.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I will make sure that people know about this because I think it's such a great event to be involved. And a lot of times as parents, you want your kids to be involved in giving back to the community, but a lot of the shelters and things like that won't allow kids to participate. But this is a way that you can give back and you can start participating and have fun at the same time. That's really awesome.
One other thing that we've done is we have asked people to do family sponsorships where they have actually paid the $10 fee for some families to come. So we have invited some of our recipients from our Christmas program to come to the event. So we're really hoping that they come out. And then it will be, we always try to make like that connection between the people who are giving and the people who are receiving.
Right.
So we're kind of hoping that our recipients from the past will come out and share in the experience.
Yeah, that's great. It's always good to be, if you were on the receiving end, to be there and be present. You know, to say
Yeah.
that this is a great organization and I'm proud to be a part of it and to receive things from it. And at the same time, if you gave, you know, it's good to be involved as well.
Yeah.
That's great. So I will definitely make sure again that we highlight the event. But I wanted to ask you like a couple more questions in regards to this business and is there some tips or some action steps that you can tell listeners that you found helpful in running your business that they should probably implement in their business?
Definitely levels of integrity. If you have a business or you're operating like I do, a nonprofit, you need to keep a level of integrity. One, in how you treat people and how you receive information, even if it's criticism. You just need to keep that level of character and integrity in place at all times, even when it's hard, when you have to give that hard answer of something that you might have failed to do or not do.
Right.
Um, so that they understand that you are trustworthy and that they can always count on you to be honest with them.
Right.
That would be one thing. The other thing I would recommend is, like I said before, keeping the people around you that will challenge you, will help you grow, will help that the organization grow. Whether you're selling a product or a service or, you know, as something like what we do, you always want people that are going to raise the bar for you because you always want to be challenged. I heard someone say recently that the minute you stop trying to like learn or grow or get to know people in relationships, even if it's your husband or wife or best friend, that's the time when you stop growing and stop getting better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I agree.
yeah,
I
I
agree.
look at that as very important. And the third thing I would actually say is passing on leadership. I think
That's
it's
good.
really important that even, you know, we've been doing this for 12 years. And, you know, I do see that in the future, this is probably not what I'm going to be doing. I want to bring up people behind me who have leadership skills that I can train, that they can take on some of the responsibility. And that passing on leadership is a lot of things that, in especially privately owned businesses, they don't do very well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And you're the first person when I'm asked that question to mention that, having the forethought enough to think ahead and say, hey, I'm not going to be doing this all my life. I'm going to eventually take a step back and maybe just sit on the board and advise people and how to give back to people and the ways that they should be doing it. And that's really great that you're already thinking about that because that's even what the Bible tells us to do. As you
Yes.
are working in leadership, you're supposed to be thinking about who you're going to pass down successorship to. And, you know, and you should not be thinking about what it is that you need to do, but how can you make this better for someone else? So when they take over what you are doing, they can just do it even greater than you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So are you molding your children or you have people, you have, you
So
have
that's
people in
really
mind?
funny. Somebody asked me that today. They said, "Oh, I thought your kids would just take over this." And I joked with them and said, "You know, I have a son that lives in Virginia. I have a daughter that lives in North Carolina. I have another daughter who is a junior in college, and she's being trained for athletic training.
Okay.
And then I have one that's junior in high school, but she's already decided that her goal in life is that she's going to start a business and become a millionaire. So working in nonprofit and like me not taking a salary is not going to make her goal of becoming a millionaire. So
you know, there are a lot of millionaire philanthropists out there. I don't know which came first, but you know, that might be something that she needs to make sure it stands there until she becomes a millionaire, and then she'll have somewhere to draft all her money to.
It is fun though that my kids, if something were to, if we were doing our Christmas program or our back to school program or something like that, truly my kids are so trained in this because they've been doing it all of their lives. Like my youngest, she was 5 years old when we started doing this, so she
Oh,
knows nothing different.
yes.
They could actually just run anything. They know the steps, they know what's going on, and they could step in at any moment and take charge. So that is a good feeling.
But that's
Um,
just a blessing to raise your children up in that type of environment where they're giving back. I mean, giving back all the time. I tried to impress upon my children it's important, like your grandmother said, it's better to give than to receive. You know, you shouldn't always be thinking about what about me. How about what about someone else? Because you know, if they don't have, then it's not fun. It's fun to bless people. It's fun to bless people. I've been in grocery lines and someone had to put some stuff back because that's all they had on their card, and I was like, you know, let's just pay for that. And the kids were like, oh, wow. They were so excited about that. But I mean, that should be our normal response. I
yeah,
mean, especially us that know Christ. If you know Christ and you know the love of the Lord, that should be your response to people.
right, right.
Yeah. That's great. I'm glad that you were able to talk with me about your event and about your foundation. I know that this interview will go far and it will be very productive in someone's life, especially the tips that you shared. I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this.
Well, thanks for doing this.
Yeah.